that results from being able to whisk through a lot of problems, that soon dissipates when it's not challenging at all. Over on the left hand, over on the right there, and in the red circle, that's the student not understanding. So we need to keep them right in that middle, in this proximal zone, where they're using the information that we're giving them and building on concepts they already know and stretching themselves just enough to make it challenging, to make it interesting, but to actually learn and retain the concepts that we're trying to convey. So how does it help us, and how do we apply it? Well, adaptive learning is nothing new. It's a concept that it applies with or without technology. And previously, when in smaller ideal situations, great teachers and instructors have always done this. They've assessed what their classes were, the level that their class was at, what they were struggling with, what they needed more help with, and adjusting and adapting the course to fit. But these days, as class sizes continue to grow, the pressure on resources continues to grow, it's simply not possible. The numbers, as the class sizes grow, of course, there's a wide variance in the level of mastery of a subject that students come into the subject with. And so again, offering a personalised and adapted course for every single student just becomes impossible without the aid of technology. Instructors often wish they had some way to do this and to make sense of it. But again, doing it on a personalised one-to-one basis for courses with students into the hundreds and sometimes thousands just doesn't, it's just not possible. So adaptive learning, it's something that brings benefits to all constituents. So students clearly benefit, they get to understand more. I'll talk a little bit more later about how it works and how it appears to a student. But instructors can get a much better understanding of their class, no matter how big that class is, with analytics, with data, and understand how students are coping, whether it's at a subject level, a learning object, or in the class as a whole, both objectively and comparatively. For institutions, the win, of course, is better engagement, better retention, better pass rates. So at Wiley, our adaptive learning technology is called Orion, and we called it Orion, which is one of the star clusters that ancient seamen used to look at to guide their way, and so we see it as a kind of our guiding light through a student's education. And it provides an instructor with very, very detailed analysis and reports of a student's proficiency related to all sorts of different concepts, not just right or wrong and absolute scores, but with quite sophisticated algorithms in the back that help differentiate. As I said, all that cognitive science that I talked about, and there's a lot more than that. That's all being used to build up these algorithms, and it really helps and to get students moving on the right lines, and it engages them, more importantly. So in short, the way that we do this, from a student's point of view, on starting a course with Orion, with adaptive learning, they take a quick diagnostic assessment, and this just helps the system to understand at what level they're coming in at. And then offers them lots of practice sessions and varies them, but it varies them in a very complex and quite sophisticated way. And so every time the student answers a question, the system can understand how much time they spent on that question. We ask them what confidence level they had. So often people are very confident but getting everything wrong, or sometimes they lack confidence but actually they're very proficient and they've mastered the subject. And so the way that Orion then directs them doesn't relate to just right or wrong. It takes into account which answer you selected. So if you do get the wrong answer, what does that say about your understanding of the subject? Difficulty of the question, of course, and how often you have to ask for hints and solutions. So every single student, no matter how big the course, gets a personalised, adaptive experience that takes them through their course and keeps them in that sweet spot, keeps them challenged, but keeps them learning and retaining. And so really, we've been using this, released this towards the fall of last year, and we were really blown away by the number of students, or the number of questions that students had attempted and worked through in the system. Over 4 million in the first 3 months. So And what I have to keep reminding myself is those are students who have not been told by an instructor to go away and do this homework, go away and practice these problems. These are students who are taking these problems directed by the system and leading them through, pointing them to chapters, pointing them to learning objectives, and then assessing how they're doing. So it's that engagement level is being beyond our expectations. Occasionally, this little character will pop up and make recommendations throughout that learning experience. So people are struggling on, maybe not making enough progress or making as much as they'd like. It interacts with them and suggests maybe you'd like to do this, maybe you'd like to go over in here and have a look at this content or this video or listen to this audio. And as always, you can, of course, choose to ignore that. So that's what we're doing with adaptive learning so far. Our experience has been tremendously positive. It's early days to get hard figures on things like grade point averages for that, but the anecdotal evidence is strong, and as I say, all the students who are really spending a lot of time on this system of their own volition and working through their problems has been is a very good indicator. So our next challenge is to bring in more collaborative elements into this experience. So studying is often, students study together, they work together in project groups, in whole classes, and so our next iteration will be Wiley Plus with Learning Space. And in this system, what we're trying to do is to bring that power of the analytical engine and the power of the adaptive learning software and algorithms to bear, but to bring them into an even more flexible course structure where the professor still has complete control over how flexible they want to make it, but basically there's some core content in there that they can direct students to, but they can pull it apart, basically build like the course as they go along. But students too can build their own. They can collaborate, they can share, they can they can ask each other questions, they can ask their professor questions, or they can point to things that they found particularly useful so that their peers can benefit from that. Again, this is in field trials now, and the usage rate, the engagement, it really is bringing that whole collaborative experience. It's for this social media generation. So in short, what we're aiming to do is to enable professors to spend more time teaching the subjects that the students are struggling with and letting students move at their own pace out of class and turning up to class better prepared. So that wide variety of student levels that's entering a class more rapidly reaches a kind of a common level, and the overall class becomes easier to manage, better outcomes, better retention, and ultimately better results. So that's a little bit about what we're doing. We're over at 38A if anybody wants to know any more. But this increasing work for us has been really challenging, I think, but also very rewarding, because it's brought us a lot closer to what academics really want. It's brought us a lot closer to what students really think. We've been publishing print textbooks for literally hundreds of years, 200 years now, but we're now very much closer to their behaviours and what they're doing, how teachers teach and how students learn, which has always been our mission to improve. So as part of that engagement with faculty, we've also realised that times are changing for faculty too, and there are a lot of new faculty around who are less experienced and need particularly in some of these new ways of teaching online, hybrid learning, flipped classrooms, and so on. And so through the Wiley Learning Institute, we bring together a network of peers, subject matter experts, instructional designers, but practicing academics and professors who deliver 20 plus live online courses every year. That's built up to now over 100 subject topics. So in the same way that students can collaborate within a learning space, academics can collaborate with each other, learn from experts, understand best practice, and improve their own teaching and instruction methods. So we basically sell this as a subscription product, but increasingly departments are working with us to use this as part of their overall blended learning and their development for faculty. And we covered subjects right from the very beginning, which is about a new faculty's first day on class, somebody who wants to delve into teaching online for the first time, what does hybrid learning mean, right through to research level materials, department chairs and so on, and still at a very much at a peer-to-peer level. So it's very much in the same vein. It's, as I said, it's not something that we're commissioning in-house. It's very much delivered by subject matter experts, instructional designers, peer-to-peer interaction with thought leaders and the very leading lights in their communities. And it sends people away with an immediately applicable framework of how to apply some of the things that they've learned during these courses. So by combining these two things with the Wiley Learning Institute and our adaptive learning, whether it's through Wiley Plus with Orion or whether it's through Wiley Plus Learning Space, we really feel that we're able to make a much bigger impact and really deliver on that mission which we've been talking about for many, many years now, which is about helping teachers teach and help students learn. So with that, I'll say thank you very much, and if you'd like to know any more or ask me questions, then as I say, we're over at 38A, and we'll be happy to talk to anybody who wants to know any more. Okay, so thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Armstrong. Mr. Armstrong, would you like to have a Q&A session with the audience?
If anybody has any questions, sure.
Yeah, is there anyone have any questions to ask Mr. Armstrong regarding this presentation that he just made? Anyone? You can just raise your hand if you want. No? All right. Thank you, Mr. Armstrong.
Right. Okay, well, thank you very much again. Thanks. How does one inject?